this is what even the troops are fodder. Have you noticed that? You get people like Bush and these other people, these kind of people that want to go and bomb people, and they say, we must fight terrorism. We must go and stop Saddam Hussein. Well, we are drinking Jack Daniels while watching the White House freaking television. We are working in a bank. We are working in the local store. We ain't fighting in Iraq. We send other poor buggers to do that. And you know, I've got a great way of stopping war. We just have a law that anyone who declares war has to fight on the front line from day one, right? Yeah. The French there had been on the front line in Iraq when the first bullet was fired. He'd have been under a bed in Houston when the second bugger went off. This is what a surgeon in Germany talked about, the horrors of what's happening to troops coming back from Iraq, Maine. Don't see that in the mainstream media. They don't want us to see this because they have to sell more and more people the idea of joining the military. Henry Kissinger once famously referred to the military as dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for a foreign policy. Wag the dog, and the greatest thing we can do is to not join the military. Isn't that a great line in the 60s? What if we had a war and no one turned up? Hey, what a great idea. All this was orchestrated propaganda, and it's kind of funny. This is what the view of that square was when that statue of Saddam Hussein was being pulled down. I was in America at the time. I sat and watched just to see how long they would hold on it. CNN held on that square live for 2 hours until that the statue was pulled down by the military because of its symbolic nature. Now, you've just seen that square. This is the London Evening Standard picture of the people in that same square at that time. Where are they again? Now look, this guy at the front is in there at least 4 bloody times. What they've done is they've taken clips of thought model of people and they've put them together to create a crowd. This is a mainstream newspaper in Britain. Yeah. Jessica Lynch, manufactured story, wag the dog. And again, face experts, you know, in Britain and elsewhere, but I've seen at least two of them talking about it in Britain. They've said that there was at least 7, 8 or 9 Saddam Husseins. And it was accepted he had loads of doubles, but have they got Saddam Hussein? Have they got Saddam Hussein batch number 156/X? And there's this story, when you saw this, Saddam Hussein's wife arrived from Syria with her official escort and then entered the prison, emerging only moments later, pink with rage and shouting, "This is not my husband, but he's double. Where's my husband? Take me to my husband." American officials rushed forward to shield Mrs. Saddam from perplexed Russian observers, trying to insist that Saddam had changed a lot while in custody. And she probably didn't recognize him. This was certainly not the best way to handle the Iraqi president's wife. "You think I do not know my husband?" she shouted furiously. "I was married to the man for more than 25 years. Then she stormed off, never to return, reported in Prague and 4 other newspapers that I saw. Oh dear, let's go to the cinema and watch this world unfold. The pig trough, all more of the resources and stuff all being picked off by the American companies. And handing over Babylon. I love it. Oh, we're going to hand it over to the Iraqis. This guy, Watch Your Pocket Shalabi, found guilty in Jordan of embezzling multi-millions. He operated a organization called the Iraqi National Congress, funded by the CIA, and they were one of the organizations that said, he's got weapons of mass destruction and we can prove it. He is a frontman for the CIA, etc. The first interim prime minister, Iyad Alawi, CIA MI6. War is peace, death is freedom, occupation is liberation, we don't want your oil. Hey, we're just working for God. Send Jesus in a suit. Kill 'em all. wanted for crimes against humanity. If these guys really were prosecuted for what they've done, then they would have to reincarnate many times to complete the sentence. This is where we're leading. And you know, when I and others talk about fascism and Nazi Germany, it's not some extreme fantasy. It is what is happening. In London this week, they shot a guy 5 times from close range. And the media just say, oh, well, you know, it must have been necessary. It must have been a danger to the public. Well, they don't know that. Investigate. But you reach the point of fear where the public accept, yes, well, you just got to shoot on sight. You never know, he might have a bomb. That's love. I love that one. I love that one. That's perfect. That is some art. And again, they told us in the Project the New American Potential report that I talked about earlier, they are heading for these other countries, and the countries either come quietly or they start getting bombed. Stop asking questions. Promise never to question authority. I promise never to bring up my rights. And if you do, if you stand for freedom and peace and not killing people, what they do is they shoot at you with rubber bullets and they break up your peaceful protests. And they stop people having a voice to protest and put the other point of view. Why? Well, let's go back to the Nazis. That's all you have to do. This is what the propaganda minister Goebbels said. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension the truth becomes the greatest enemy of the state. That's why they're suppressing dissent. And in Britain, we've got the Neo-Labour Party, who's just the mirror of what's happening in America, and we've got Belair as they call him in Britain. And this brings us to very topical events. We'll have a break in a sec, but this brings us to very topical events. As a result of the information that's come out about the invasion of Iraq and the lack of weapons of mass destruction, and the staggering scale of lies that Blair has told and Bush has told, I'm not kidding, in Britain, the word Blair and liar are interchangeable in the public mind. This man won another election, but with 36% or something like that of the vote. 64% voted against him. Because of the ludicrous system in Britain, he got in. Now, we were in a situation where you had 2 frontmen that were supposed to push forward this agenda. In Britain, he had no credibility whatsoever. And in America, Bush's support and ratings were plummeting, as was the support for Iraq. And so something had to happen, and it was the London bombings. It was a very orchestrated week in Britain. First of all, in London, you had the Live 8 concert with the rock stars putting on this concert to press for help for Africa. They weren't, I won't say they were played like a violin. More appropriately, they were played like electric guitars, because they were used to give the impression that something was going to be done about Africa when it was all a sleight of hand, and secondly, secret events through that week that led to these bombings, all orchestrated to manipulate the public mind. Bob Geldof, I'm not saying he's not genuine, but this man really has got to get streetwise. And the idea that these guys want to do something about Africa, as I've been saying for years, the agenda is to destroy Africa. It's a genocidal agenda of which AIDS, what we call AIDS, is a massive part to destroy and kill what we call the African culture, the African people. And this Live 8 concert was giving the impression that these people were going to do something about it when they're actually doing the opposite. It was hiding the genocide in so many ways. I mean, they're reducing debt. Well, there is no stopping debt for a start, just credit. And what is the debt? The debt is money that is not passed on. Credit is passed on, and it's often wasted because of frontmen in African countries that are placed there by Illuminati to do that. And what is debt? It's control and aid. Bloody aid. For every dollar that goes into Africa in aid, $3 come out to the aid donating countries in exploitation of Africa. Not only that, one of the great ways that they use to pass money directly from government to transnational corporations, from taxpayer to corporations, is via aid. Because this is the way it works. They say, if they said, right, what we're going to do, we're going to write out a check to Halliburton, and we're going to write out a check to this company or that company, here's the taxpayers' money. People know what's going on. What's going on? So what they do is they say, hey, over here, we're now giving aid to this country. Hey, because we're good. Well, we're British, we're American, and we care. So here's some aid. Hey, get the photo. There you go. Hey. And then what happens is you go, oh, by the way, I'll be in a minute. Go and have a drink, okay? Great. By the way, that money, it has to be spent with this company on that project, okay? Okay. And now, I'm with you again. And so what a large amount of aid is passing money from governments through the receiving country back to the transnational corporations in the donating countries. That's how they do it. And another thing that happened was so symbolic of the patronizing of Africa is that you had the white rock stars here on the major stage in London in Hyde Park, and only after complaints from people saying of what's going on were some African bands put on miles away down in Cornwall in England, watched by a few thousand people with next to no publicity. So, and all the white rock stars were singing on the stage, and if any Africans were there, they were in the background in the chorus. How symbolic is that?